Hello, I'm Tony Maniaty, the author of Shooting Balibo. More than 30 years ago in 1975, the year the Vietnam War ended, I flew with a TV crew into East Timor, a small Portuguese colony wedged between Australia and Indonesia. I was 26 years old. I'd been a journalist with the Australian Broadcasting Corporation for 8 years, and I was full of confidence. What I didn't know was that I was flying into the most traumatic experience of my life. Over the next month, I was shelled by Indonesian forces. I had a head-on collision which I survived, and perhaps worst of all, I had to report the deaths of 5 of my television colleagues, the group that became known as the Balibo 5. I'd met all 5 of them on the way to Balibo, and I'd tried hard to convince them not to go. I thought it was just too dangerous. A few days after they arrived in Balibo, the Indonesians occupied the town and murdered them all brutally. Recently, I went back to East Timor, perhaps because the time was right. A good friend of mine, Robert Connolly, the Australian film director, was making a movie called Balibo, about the Balibo 5, but also about another journalist, Roger East, who went into East Timor to try to find out what happened to the other journalists, and who himself was brutally executed by the Indonesians on the day of the invasion. Robert and the producer of the film, John Maynard, gave me exclusive and quite remarkable access to the cast and crew and to the locations, including many where the action had taken place in 1975, including the places where the Balibo 5 were killed. It was a very emotional experience for me, of course, and I tried in Shooting Balibo to capture some of the dedication of the crew and also the responses of the East Timorese to this remarkable event in their life, the recreation of what were very dark and deep memories. Why would 5 young Australians, newsmen like myself, against all advice, stay in Balibo and try to capture on film an invasion by a major force and hope to stay alive? It had haunted me for many years, this problem of why they'd stayed, and I didn't really know the answer. And I think by going back to Balibo, by standing in the very places where they worked and died, I was able to come to some understanding of what that was about. So Shooting Balibo is a book about a young man's first experience of war, my own journey into East Timor, for me an extraordinary event. It's also, I think, a look at 2 periods of history. A small, struggling and very proud nation trying to fight its way into the 21st century, but also a look back at a far more innocent time, an innocence that was shattered one morning in 1975 in Balibo.